Oh, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so it just ended per usual. So I might be getting shadow banned again. I don't know. It's probably because I don't talk about bullshit on my show. So that might be having a little bit to do with it. And then I'm talking over my roommates. So that's why I'm talking so loud. Um, so um I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know. Every time I get on some real shit, my live gets fucked up. And that I'm getting mad about that shit for real. Like here are only 3 pages in this motherfucker, and the shit's already fucking up. Okay, so I'm getting salty though. Okay, so here we go. We left off on page 56. I don't know. We only 3 pages in, so maybe I should just start over. Um, I feel like I should because I don't know. Somebody might be lazy and not watch the whole shit and realize that somebody might pull up and not watch the whole shit and then it gets cut off. So I'm just gonna delete this one. Understand it's about to be deleted forever, stupid bitch. And then we gotta start all over again because I got some hitting ass faggot in my shit. So yes, and I say the word faggot. So let's start over again. The announcements initially was that we were gonna watch or not watch, read um The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. Especially we needed to not only with Harry Washington, but we needed some more Black women books to read together because it'll give us a break from the seriousness of the medical apartheid. Okay. And then also, what was the other announcement? We're gonna have a movie night. I forgot that, so this is good to start it over. Um, we're gonna have another movie night. My sister said don't do another harsh movie, but we're gonna do House of Numbers. Not this week, but I like living in harsh reality, so I might just ignore my sister and do that. But I forgot what other movie that I wanted to do. I was thinking about that one movie with Mos Def, where he played um, he was the doctor. I think he was the first Black doctor to do heart surgery. So we might do that movie or something. I'm gonna figure out a movie for this weekend. Okay. Um, but we're going to do one. As a matter of fact, every week for the month of February, we're going to do a Black movie, okay? Something that we could just learn from, okay? So let's start this raggedy bitch over again and get into the shits. And let me post it on my Instagram so they can know what's up. Um, why isn't this ever easy to do? I mean, don't nobody ever come on my live. I don't know how people go live and be getting all them people on there. Maybe I don't do it enough, and that's why nobody finds my live valuable yet. So again, medical apartheid, chapter 2. We already did the introduction in the first chapter. We're doing one chapter every Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll be reading a chapter on Wednesday, a chapter on Thursday, and about between 6:30 and 7 o'clock. It just depends on when I get off work. Sometimes I'll be really tired. So that's that. It's already 7:40. We were 40 minutes in and then the live got disrupted. So I want to put it out there again that I'm back live. So we could get because we just got CareBot in here, We need some real Care Bears in the building, okay? Um, Maybe I should go on my Real Talking Healthy Food. We're reading the medical apartheid. If you got the book, join in. We're on chapter 2. Come on over to YouTube, Real Talking Healthy Food, and I'll see y'all in a minute. Peace. Okay. So I have to redo everything again. Share to IGTV. I don't want to share that to IGTV on this one. So let's go to the what you call it. Okay, so I'm gonna do it on my Real Talking Healthy Food one because that just makes more sense to do. And let's see. Let's see if I can figure it out this time. Let's see, y'all. Story. I don't know how I did it before, but I swear, y'all, I'm really doing my best to try to do this. How the fuck? I don't underfuck. I don't. For me in this. Girl, what the fuck? So here we go. Going live. Finally. Okay. So we had to start over again. Hopefully we get some more Care Bears instead of CareBot. Just having CareBot over here. Can y'all see my mess? No? Okay, good. Because I ain't cleaning it up. Okay. So, as always, we're going to go over the vocabulary, how it relates to modern times, um, how to be proactive in voicing it, and being proactive in our health decisions, and how this book will assist with that, making us a little bit more cautious. And so let's just delve into it. I'm gonna read this a whole lot faster than the previous one because it's already 7:43 and I like to go to bed early. So forget all that noise. So chapter 2, page 53, Profitable Wonders, Antebellum Medical Experimentation with Slaves and Freedmen. Okay, when he escaped to England in 1847, the former slave who had been known as Fed claimed John Brown as his full name. Brown was a compact, dark skinned man in his 40s with strong features and a dense thatch of black hair that sprang from his crown at an angle. Though it had been brushed to either side of an indeterminate part, his body bore the stigmata of enslavement. Why does she do that? Okay, I asked that earlier, but I just feel like it's not fucking necessary to do all that, to put all those stupid ass words to get your point across. And we're gonna see the difference in Sister Soldier, okay? I'm just saying, I know this is like a medical read, but it's annoying. Like it really is. Why can't you just be like, oh, his hair was out of part? Like, I don't know. His hands were latticed with ropey scars, and the black iris of his bulging right eye lay off center, perpetually looking inward. For all this, the worn, colliding image gracing his memoirs shows the image of an estimable appearance in a sober woolen suit and a brocade waistcoat. He is neither smiling nor frowning. He exudes a satisfied air of quiet dignity, a survivor, but of what? In 1855, Brown described his enslavement to L.A. Some German guy, secretary of the British and Foreign Anti-Slavery Society, which published his memoirs as Slave Life in Georgia. That's the name of the book. Among Brown's most remarkable recollections was the period he spent with Dr. Thomas Hamilton of Clinton, Georgia, during the 1820s and early 1830s. Hamilton was not only a widely respected physician, but with but the very epitome of a Southern gentleman. He was born into wealth in Washington, Georgia, graduated from the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine, became a wealthy plantation owner, physician, politician, and trustee of the Medical Academy of Georgia. But Hamilton had another face. Brown recalls how he fell into the doctor's hands when his master, a man named Stevens, fell ill. I do not know what his malady was, but it must have been serious. They called in to treat him one Dr. Hamilton, who lived in Jones County and who had a great name. He cured Stevens and was so pleased that he told the doctor to ask him for any favor and it should be granted. Now it so happened that the Dr. Hamilton had been trying to a great number of experiments for the purpose of finding out the best remedies for sunstroke. I was, it seemed, a strong and likely subject to be experimented upon, and the doctor, the having fixed the thing in his mind, asked Stevens to lend me to him. This he did at once, never caring to inquire what was going to be done with me. I myself did not know, even if I had been made aware of the nature of the trials I was about to undergo, I could not have helped myself. There was nothing for it but passive resignation, and I gave myself up in ignorance and much fear. Fucked up. Hamilton had a deep pit dug and built a fire in that he okay, and built a fire in it that he damped so that only the burning embers remained. These were retained until the doctor, using a thermometer, ascertained that the pit was sufficiently hot. He then made Brown sit naked on a stool in the pit, naked though, and covered the opening with wet blanket to retain heat. Only Brown's head was exposed, while temperatures routinely exceeded 100 degrees. Hamilton then administered his various heat remedies until Brown recalls, though I tried hard to keep up against its effects. In about a half an hour, I fainted, and I was then lifted out and revived, the doctor taking note of the degrees of the heat when I left the pit. That is so fucked up. After each day's work in the fields, Brown was given some nostrum and made to repeat the ordeal. After all this scientific effort, Hamilton resorted to chicanery, which that was one of the words which I could finally found back as a vocabulary word. Oh yeah, forgot to add this too. Somebody asked last week, just in case somebody won't come off the tongue. The bag, honey. Damn, I'm gonna start putting that on all my videos too. Cause your girl low key go hard even though it don't be appreciated. Okay. Like the effort resorted to, which that word means trickery, bullshit. Okay, Hamilton, found that cayenne pepper tea accomplished his object, and a very nice thing he made of it. As soon as he got back, okay, this is where we left off. So this page here, 54, and then we'll be finally moving forward, okay? He advertised that he discovered a remedy for sunstroke. It consisted of pills where to be dissolved in cayenne pepper tea, without which he said the pills would not produce any effect, nor do I see how they should have done so, for they were only made of common flour. However, he succeeded in getting them into general use, and and as he asked a good price, he soon realized a large fortune. Okay, y'all on Instagram, come on over to YouTube if you're fucking with it, and I'll see you in a minute. Peace. Okay. After a few days' rest, Brown was subjected to a new set of experiments for which he was bled every other day, but still worse was to come. He set to work to ascertain how deep my black skin went. This he did by applying blisters to my hands, legs, and feet, which bear the scars to this day. He used to blister me at intervals of about 2 weeks. He also tried other experiments upon me, which I cannot dwell upon. Damn, man. And after Brown's matter of fact account of being poached to the point of fainting and his repeatedly burned and flayed skin, one wonders what other experimental horrors he cannot dwell upon when he could bear the surgical torture no longer. Brown, when he couldn't bear the surgical torture no longer, he fled to New England. There are many people like Brown. The preceding chapter sketched how scientific racism, abuse of medical intentions, and iatrophobia, the fear and loathing many Black Americans harbor toward the American medical establishment, are connected. However, and that's called pathology. However, African Americans have also been exploited as the subjects of abusive medical experimentation, which was once a standard medical practice. More than scientific racism, more than heroic purges, bleedings, and cathartics, and more than punitive use of therapeutics, involuntary medical experimentation was a scientific personification of enslavement. Violence, pain, and shame joined as physicians forced the enslaved body into medical service, not to cure, but for profit. Medical experimentation was profitable in terms of recovered health and life for whites who benefited once the medical process had been perfected. It was also a profitable source of fame and sometimes fortune for physicians. Owners boarded the captive bodies of sick slaves to hospitals or hired well ones to physicians for use of experiments. Sometimes they would sold a slave outright for such use, particularly if she had become too old or infirm to work or to breed. Many slave owners, such as Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Marion Sims, Dr. Nathaniel Boozman, and Dr. Stillwell, were themselves physicians who bought and raised slaves for the express purpose of using them for experimentation. Not only slaves were this used, but also free persons of color. So now we back on track before we got fucked up by the haters. Okay. The perilous trial. What constitutes medical experimentation? The word experiment comes from the Latin proposition meaning from or out of. The peculium dangerous trial. To conduct an experiment is to risk success or failure. And when human health and lives hang in the balance, the stakes are high indeed. However, famed French researcher Claude Bernard provided the definitive feature of scientific experimentation in 1863. Quote, an experiment is an observation induced with the object of control, end quote. Thus, the researcher conducting an experiment does not simply observe a medical phenomenon, but he or she induces a change under the strictly controlled conditions, makes observations, and then logically analyzes them. Some medical experiments some medical experiments test treatments that may help experimental subjects. These are therapeutic experiments. Other experiments involve non therapeutic tests that are not designed to help the experimental subject. The experimental standards that govern research today differ considerably from the physicians who followed prior to 20th century. Today, a matrix of legislation protects human subjects at least in theory. And informed consent is a necessary requirement for most experiments with human beings. Informed consent is not a signed piece of paper, but rather the fluid, continuous process by which the researcher informs the subject in detail of what he or she proposes to do, why it is being proposed, and what possible consequences the experiment carries. Only then does the researcher ask subjects permission, which must be obtained in writing. Despite the signing of the consent form, the process had not ended. The researcher must continue to inform the subject of developments in the experiment that could affect them, and the subject may withdraw from the experiment at any time. Ooh, I just got an idea. We're gonna do. We're gonna do. We're gonna review either um Hidden Colors or that most deaf movie, okay? To perform an experiment without informed consent is a serious medical and legal abuse today. However, informed consent was not part of the ethical mores of the 18th and 19th centuries and was not required by law. Physicians did typically ask the patient's consent to conduct experiments, but they did not explain their reasoning or detail their intent. In addition, when we consider 18th and 19th century experimentation, it is important to keep in mind that the medicine of the period uh, continuance a larger degree of therapeutic modification than it is allowed today. By the standard of past centuries, not every spontaneous decision to try a new untested medication or combination can be considered unethical medical experimentation. For this reason, discussions of early medical experiments with African Americans in this chapter do not focus on lesser but still egregious ethical breaches such as dangerous therapeutic experiments without informed consent. Neither do I discuss those many experimental approaches that are essentially therapeutic adjustments of commonly accepted remedies and methods. Southern physicians and scientists engaged in many such hazardous experiments, such as those of T.S. Hopkins, MD, of Waynesville, Georgia, who prescribed caustic solutions of nitric nitric acid to 5 Black children for asthma. Similarly, Joseph May, MD, prescribed Herculean doses of calomel and quinine to a slave with malaria who fortunately recovered. These were hazardous experiments that would not have been practiced on whites, and they're done without subjects' permission, but their end was at least partially therapeutic. The doctor was trying to effect the cure. Now, with us talking about how they did this bullshit to the slaves, kind of goes to the point, even though they're not around. But we had this conversation when I was talking about reparations, and my parents come from the time where they kind of have this thought process of we can't blame the white man and went to school to school. What I'm saying is you gonna pay what you up. Look at the bullshit that they was doing. You don't think we don't deserve nothing for it? How come everybody else get their shit except us? So fuck out of here. I want my money. Instead, the chapter offers a few examples of the many experiments, like those to which Brown was subjected. That is, they were involuntary, painful, dangerous, and either frankly non-therapeutic or obviously more harmful than beneficial. The experimental abuse of African Americans was not a cultural anomaly. It's simply mirrored in the medical arena the economic, social, and health abuses that the larger society perpetuated against people of color, especially in slaveholding states. No one, Black or white, would have chosen to be the subject of a dangerous experiment, but Blacks were especially wary based upon their earlier abusive experiences with Western medicine. They were also wary because Western medical experimentation with this mechanistic approach to the body was philosophically inimical to the spiritual, community based, and holistic African systems of healing as practiced by Black leaders. Western physicians have placed African holistic plant and spirit centered healing system outside the purview of medicine, relegating them to the realm of superstition, the occult, voodoo, and old wives' tales in the same manner, many African Americans placed the experimentation to which they were subjected outside of accepted modes of medicine and healing. So, and that's still true to this day. Our Our history, even when it comes to in regard to worship and healing and eating and food and being and conducting our families, the more we research, the more we'll find that we were nothing like these weirdos over here in the Western society. And even with in worship and especially in healing, which our ancestor believes that it was combined. Just like Asians, there's videos out there where they use chanting techniques because that's part of their spiritual base is meditation and chanting, and how they use not only that but different herbs and shit like that, along with their spirit based beliefs to heal. But we look at it as, oh, it's just juice and berries and that shit don't work. Now, in some cases, you might need a little something extra, right? But I think it's good to be cautious and try to do your best to heal it with natural remedies. Let's see, 'cause this might, we got to have a professional, a professional come to the house. So to assist with the daggone hot water, y'all. We ain't got no hot water. I took some cold ass showers. Okay. Now, oral histories and extant writings suggest that many African Americans accepted and even incorporated some Native American and Western healing techniques, but but considered invasive medical experimentation a form of medical torture or even medical cannibalism. That is gross. Um, just cannibalism in itself is fucking disgusting to me. I don't know about the weirdos out there who's with the shit, but let me do this. Yeah. Okay. So now, before the early 20th century rise of the U.S. hospital movement, physicians and scientists conducted medical research in slave quarters, backyard shacks they designated as slave hospitals and clinic wards. No organized bodies coordinated coherent research plans, and some research was utterly spontaneous and unrecorded. Physicians' recollections, medical journals, and institutional records limn a pattern of abusing African Americans that was supported by custom and sometimes by law. Excuse me. The accounts could be astonishingly frank because the authors were writing only for the eyes of other physicians, white males of their own class who attended hospital wards and read medical journals. Moreover, African Americans were without legal protection and thus unable to hamper physicians' activities. Damn. Okay. As a result, early medical records routinely identified African Americans as experimental subjects, especially in the slaveholding states. Half the original articles in the 1836 Southern Medical and Surgical Journal, which is a book, dealt with experiments performed upon Blacks. It is true that Blacks constituted a significant part of the South's population, nearly 40% in 1860, but they were still represented far above their proportions in hospitals and clinics. For example, when Dr. James Dugas pioneered a new eye surgery, four of his five experimental subjects, 80% were black, 80% were black. Slaves were used preferentially to test. Oh, we got another one, y'all. Okay. It's a variation of either genuine or genetic. Let's see, GENITOURINARY surgery. So let's see what that means. Bro, I don't know why I keep scratching my